a champion of the little guy, of voter integrity, of low taxes in New Hampshire for a number of years. In an early conversation that I had with Ed Naile, I was talking about one of the Boston Bruins. I said, you know, Ed, he loves to fight. I said, Ed, I think you're like that. And he said, no, I just don't like bullies. He said, I don't ask for much. All I want is for people to quake with fear when I walk into the room. Please join me in welcoming one of the great fighters for low taxes, voter integrity, and for the little guy in New Hampshire, Ed Naile.
I don't like to fight, but I have had 12 stitches in my nose. Here it goes. James O'Keefe is coming in at some point here. Hope he's here now. And I'm the opening act for him, I hope. The Attorney General's office has sent him a subpoena to appear before a grand jury. Now, there must be some reason for that. I think it's a stupid reason, whatever it is. I have no idea what they're going to ask him. But I have some questions for the AG's office since they like to subpoena people. We had a guy who was indicted recently in Merrimack County by a grand jury. His name is Michael Sean Lewis. Because of a tip, I know that he voted illegally in New Hampshire and Florida and Georgia. So if you saw the headlines from the Attorney General's office, Miami man indicted for voter fraud. Okay? Same AG's office, they're going to indict him for voter fraud. That's the headlines in the Union Leader. Here we go. Michael Sean Lewis, various real and fake addresses on November 8th. That's election day. He got arrested after he walked out from voting in Hooksett. So Michael Sean Lewis gave an address of 1907 Northwest 38th Street, Miami, when he got arrested. It's one of the addresses, the 4 addresses he gave when he got arrested. That is the address of the Salvation Army. Okay? He flew here from Miami, and he got a rental car. Then his next address was, let me see, for bond, he gave the address of 800 Washington Street in Miami, Florida. There is no 800 Washington Street, but there is one in Miami Beach. That's where he voted illegally early on October 10th or something like that. It's because Florida has early vote thief. And so early vote fraud, I'm sorry. This vote thief used vote fraud. And then he gave, what else? In the criminal complaint, he gave another address. He gave a fake address. He just made one up or found one in Hooksett to vote, and that was Oak Street or something like that. People there, we don't know any Michael Sean Lewis. He used a random address in Hooksett. His address to vote in Florida was 800 Washington Avenue, blah, blah, blah. All right, so somehow he got here with a rental car. What do you give for a rental car? Driver's license, credit card? He gave a driver's license number to vote in New Hampshire, not the card, because you're allowed to do that under federal law. I'm thinking the driver's license may not have had Michael's picture on it. Okay, so the New Hampshire Attorney General's office, who just recently gave a subpoena to James O'Keefe, they've indicted a guy from a city in which he does not live. He lives at, I think I can remember this correctly, 1551 Terrence Way, Northwest, Marietta, Georgia. That's where all his arrest records are from. That's where all his default on rent is from, going back to the 90s when he hit somebody and got a felony assault. So what kind of an Attorney General's office do we have that says we indicted somebody from Miami from the Salvation Army? James O'Keefe might want to ask him that. Maybe, I don't know if there's questions and answer sessions in the grand jury. That's our guys. Then we have, so this is a little brief history. Then we have another guy. This was a beautiful tip. I got a tip that he voted illegally on November 8th, and we had everything on him by the 10th, pretty much. And I have screenshots of his voting records in the other states and Georgia. So I just called Georgia and I wanted to refresh it. Now they're not talking to me. So somebody must have called Georgia. Then we have, here's one, Carl Robert Gibson. You remember him? He's a dirtball from 5 different states that came here and pretended to be Yvonne Dean Bailey? Yeah. He registered as a Republican because he thought it would be funny. So I think when the AG's office got a complaint that he was using a fake name and impersonating Yvonne Dean Bailey, they rushed right out and they bagged him, okay? The AG's office went out to this little room that he had somewhere in Concord, and they arrested the Concord man. They arrested the Concord man. They did not take a computer, they did not take statements, they had no witnesses, they had nothing. But they arrested him, I think because there was an R before his name. So Carl Gibson, here we go, the great indicters. On April 24th of 2012, Carl Robert Gibson registered to vote in the state of Connecticut in Old Lyme. I have his voter ID number, his phone number. On November 6, 2012, not that long after, Carl Robert Gibson, while knowingly registered to vote in other states, used his Kentucky driver's license, G02716-568, to register to vote in that same day in New Hampshire's general election on November 6, 2012. So he's already on the checklist of 2012 here and in Connecticut. Then Mr. Gibson renewed his Kentucky driver's license on November 11th. So just a couple days after he votes here, he renews his Kentucky driver's license. How in the world do I know what his Kentucky driver's license is? Because when he was in a paddy wagon, he was holding up the complaint. Ha ha ha, look at me, I got arrested, and it had his driver's license number on it. So I called up Kentucky, yep, that's our boy. So Mr. Gibson renewed his license on April 2, 2013. Carl Robert Gibson registered to vote and voted in the Wisconsin election for their Attorney General. So he's a good voter, he's consistent in multiple states. On November 16, 2013, he published a news article about his home catching on fire in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. On November 4th, 2014, Carl Gibson voted in the New Hampshire general election again by absentee ballot. I wonder where he was. Was he at home? Was he in Connecticut? Was he traveling around protesting? So he got arrested for impersonating a New Hampshire citizen running for office. And he was doing it by saying, I'm Yvonne Dean Bailey, and I'm bailing out of this race. I'm too busy to run. That's called voter suppression. That's what he was arrested for. Our Attorney General's office settled for forgery. So you won't see any headlines in the Union Leader or the other fake media. You won't see a headline saying, Democrat arrested for voter suppression, will you? Because I think it might be misdemeanor. I filed an amicus brief, yay thick in that case, to the judge. The Attorney General's office filed a motion to my amicus brief. What's in my lousy amicus brief? That he's done this before? That he made some fake tweets that cost General Electric $3 billion in stock dip, for saying, General Electric's going to pay $3 billion in tax penalties, so their stock went down. It was ha, ha, ha. It was Carl Gibson. He did the same thing to Mississippi Radio. He released some information there. And what do our guys do when we catch a big fish working for Bernie Sanders? What do we do with him? Forgery. And Bernie, he's not a very popular guy anymore. He was hooked up with another guy called Ryan Clayton. Yep. He and Ryan Clayton had a business till they had a little falling out. And it was some sort of a website where they would make up wild stories about stuff and claim it was true. And they were making a nice little living so they could have little apartments everywhere. He and Ryan Clayton had a falling out. So I'm looking up Ryan Clayton. Oh yeah, he's voting out of a place in a house, I forget the 400 something or other street in Manchester. Since 2014, he's a Manchester voter. But in 2017, Ryan Clayton got arrested in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Remember this? For throwing Russian flags at the president.
That's right.
Now, I've reported this stuff to the U.S. Attorney, and they sent it to the AG's office rather than do their job. We have a brand new U.S. Attorney appointed by Trump. My hope is he will do his job, because this is a federal offense to multiple the vote in general elections. It's, in case he doesn't know, U.S. Code 52-10307, paragraph 5, to give false information in a general election for the president, vice president, member of Congress. So Ryan Clayton, when he got arrested, what did Ryan do? He gets out his wallet, shows the cops his address, Sterling, Virginia. What the hell does his driver's license say Sterling, Virginia for if he's a consistent voter in Manchester, New Hampshire? Where's our Attorney General's office? They're busy chasing James O'Keefe. Now, when James O'Keefe came in 2016, they took a bunch of film. And they gave the film, well, they didn't really give it. to the AG's office, but they were subpoenaed after handing it to Governor Hassan's secretary. So I was there when they did the filming, and they came back. Okay, they're editing the filming because you can't put hours and hours of film on TV. You have to edit it. Okay, so they took stuff out. My warning to the AG's office is you may not want to see what's on the rest of that film, because I saw spots of it as it went by me. I'm thinking, boy, I'd put that in I didn't put that in. I'd put this. I would put in the guy with the sailor's beard from Virginia that was told by a top official in New Hampshire he was allowed to vote here even though he lived in Virginia. If I was James, I would have put that in. Now, if this was given to the Attorney General's office, do you think they might have looked at it? They might look at that and say, oh, I may not want that, and Hugo Palma and Donna Waterman and Donna S. Waterman and the rest of the people in there from out of state that were here working for Bernie Sanders' crime family, they may not want to see that. So I'm thinking, from all my years of doing this, and it's like Groundhog Day for 20 years, anybody that knows me, I've been working on the for a long time. So, and I catch them, but I can only catch one at a time. I can't catch a batch, well, except for the busload we call it, of 19, 20 people vote from an imaginary road and an imaginary building on that, that was given to the Attorney General's Office of Secretary of State. They never did anything about. That was one of the first pieces of evidence I ever got. So the other thing I want to do is, we need to track these buggers down. I need your tips. I picked up a fabulous one today, which I will actually track. And I have 2 minutes left to tell you what's going on with the ACLU's ridiculous case in federal court. They have two plaintiffs, they call them. Both of them live out of state. One lives in California, one lives in Louisiana. They're the plaintiffs. They're looking for the ACLU to give them the right to vote here, which they've already done, and not have to get a New Hampshire driver's license, because they call that a fine. I filed a motion to intervene. I've done this before. I filed a motion to intervene, but never in federal court. I follow all the steps. Boom, boom, boom. There's like 13 steps. I follow all the steps, and I got bumped out. And the ACLU filed an objection to my 28-page motion to intervene. They missed a lot of it. A lot of the things I put in there were really killer. They just pretended like I didn't write them. So you do this 13-page motion to object, and the state hasn't filed anything yet. They have till April 29th. So I've been bumped out by the judge before he's even seen other people's pleadings. So here we go. Here's what he says. I'm going to need glasses for this because I haven't memorized it yet. After a couple of these, I will. Here they go. I got 1 minute? I can do this. Okay, endorsed order denying motion to intervene. Text of order denied. Well, the motion is styled as a motion to intervene. Damn right it was. And the plaintiffs have apparently responded. Yeah, they did. This prayer for relief does not request intervention to which Mr. Naile is not entitled. The prayers for relief, see documents. So prayers for relief, like please do this, please do that. That was the sticking point. Request declaratory judgment, blah, 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 blah. The court has read with interest, however, Mr. Naile's submissions in the spirit of an amicus-style briefing. So ordered by Judge Joseph N. LaPlante. So I get some time to file a motion to reconsider, which I'm going to do, and the unnamed plaintiffs, the ACLU's plaintiffs, they didn't put their names in the case. We have no addresses, either their domicile or residence. But my motion to reconsider will have their addresses in. So everybody's going to know that there's 2 candidates from Berkeley College there. Now, can I keep talking until James and Pete shows up? Thank you guys for coming. I'm glad I didn't have to follow Barbara from Harlem. I was sweating it out, man. I'm telling you. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.